Hey, this is Courtney with the Highly Sensitive Badass blog and vlog, and it's a place where highly sensitive people who are intuitive and empathic and tend to feel everything can come to learn more about living a very empowered life as a highly sensitive person. Today is part 3 of our series of dealing with a lot of the suffering going on around us, which can be incredibly difficult for highly sensitive people, empathic people, intuitive people to deal with. Please excuse my dog. He's very old and he's huffing and puffing on the floor next to me. But you know, he's my cute dog, so I'm going to let him hang out in here with us while we do this video. So ironically, you'll notice it's been like 3 weeks since I did a video, and my computer broke, so I didn't have any access to recording equipment, but also I took a huge dive for the last 3 weeks. They've been really difficult for me, and part of it was because I started sucking up all the energy around me. I really let go of some of the coping skills that I've learned over the past few years to help let me kind of be out in the world, interact with people without taking on a lot of their energy. And I really let my own practices slip over the past few weeks. And sure enough, I opened the door just a little bit and I was struggling. So I did a couple blog posts during that about really feeling some intense feelings and how to handle that, but I didn't make any videos. So you can check out my blog at The Highly Sensitive Badass for more blog stuff, but the videos, I'm just getting back to that. So anyway, so today we talked in part 1 and part 2 about certain strategies, and a couple of them were just being aware of the boundaries that we may or may not have in our lives. Boundaries are crucial in every area of our life. We can have boundaries with people, we can have boundaries with, how we get information, with media, we can have boundaries with food. So a lot of us tend to perhaps have loosey-goosey boundaries around the foods that we let into our bodies. So really anything that comes into our bodies or even just into our energy systems at all are things that we need to be aware of having boundaries with. So the thing I want to talk about today are our thoughts and having awareness of our thoughts, because thoughts create your reality in so many ways, and many of us are very unaware of the thoughts that we are walking around with. There are subconscious thoughts that we may not be aware of. There are also just a lot of chit-chatter thoughts that are kind of going in a constant stream throughout our day that we sometimes can catch, but a lot of the time we just have this constant stream of chit-chatter going on as we go through our day. And sometimes we notice it, sometimes we don't. So the next practice I want you to think about is really becoming very aware of the chit-chatter. Okay, Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorite teachers who talks about this. And he's wonderful in talking about the present moment. He talks a lot about acceptance, and he talks a lot about our chit-chattery brains. And he really helped me understand just my busy brain, because everyone's brain is busy, and I think there are moments when it's much quieter and moments where it's much louder, and a lot of us feel like we cannot control our thoughts, and in some way this is true and in some way this is not true. We absolutely can control our thoughts to an extent. We have the power to shift our thoughts, we have the power to shift our focus. Sometimes we don't always understand how to do this in the moment. However, with practice, you get so much better at it. But Eckhart Tolle really described this idea of detaching from your thoughts. So realizing that the mind is creating these thoughts, our brain is doing this, and when we detach from our thoughts, we can really touch base with that higher part of ourselves, that higher consciousness that we all have that is separate from the thoughts that our brain is creating. And I love to think of that in terms of the brain creating the thoughts, because then for whatever reason that works for me to help me really realize that it's not truly me, my higher self, so much as it is my brain manufacturing these thoughts on my behalf. And I can control this. And once you create that detachment and the awareness, it gets a lot easier to do that. Awareness is the first key with anything. So mindfulness meditation is really helpful. Awareness of thoughts and just awareness in general is also called mindfulness. So just a little note on mindfulness. So when you get better at watching your thoughts, you will start to learn when your thoughts are spiraling out of control. And you'll notice that a majority of the thoughts that we think tend to be negative in nature. This is very normal, by the way. Don't ever judge yourself for any of this because everybody does this. This is just human nature. It's how we're wired. And again, nothing is wrong with you. This is just how we are. So when we notice our thoughts, start paying attention to how many of these thoughts are negative in nature, how many thoughts are positive in nature, and how many thoughts are you having on purpose versus thoughts just happening kind of just without our consent, or just our normal thoughts. And one thing to be aware of too is the negative critic. A lot of us have this person, I kind of think of it as like this inner critic. I call it, for my kids, I actually talk about their inner goblin, because it's this chit-chatty voice, again, manufactured voice by us. It's not on purpose. We're not doing this on purpose, but a lot of us have created this very strong negative voice, critic, person who's constantly judging us, who's it's like an ongoing commentary of how how bad we are at, it could be anything like, oh God, why did you say that to that person? I bet they think you're such a jerk. Or I can't believe you ate that. What's wrong with you? It's that constant chit-chattery voice that is just constantly berating you for whatever you do. It could be anything at all. So beware of that. Notice how strong that voice is. And then on the other side, do you have an inner cheerleader? So we do. Most of us do. And over time, though, it depends. One's usually bigger than the other. So notice for now, is your inner goblin bigger or is your inner cheerleader bigger? And we can absolutely make one bigger and make the other smaller. So ideally the goal is to become aware of your thoughts and make that inner goblin much smaller. And really when you notice that thought, one of my mentors says, the minute you think a thought, go cancel, just say, forget it, I'm not allowing that thought. Or you can say, thank you, no thank you. You acknowledge it and then say, no thank you. And then immediately come up with an alternate thought, the opposite of that. So if it's a negative thought, immediately come up with a thought that your inner cheerleader would say. What is something that your inner cheerleader would say in that circumstance? Usually it's praise, it's acknowledgement of something great inside you, something good that you did. And there's nothing wrong with boasting about yourself. It's not boasting, bragging in the negative sense. It's simply building that confidence, building yourself up, because we are all great and we all need to get that praise from ourselves first. Again, your primary relationship is with yourself. That's the first relationship that needs work and that you can work on, is that relationship with yourself. So building up that inner cheerleader is a really important practice. And the first way to even start with any of this is just being aware of your thoughts and what boundaries you can create. Once that awareness gets better and you've practiced it a lot more, then you can move into conscious creation and conscious thoughts. Our thoughts really do create our reality. And the more thoughts that we have on purpose, the more that we can move our thoughts in a certain direction that we want to go, the more we're in that, we will flow in that direction so much more easily. So one of my favorite sayings is, what you focus on grows. And it's so true. So the majority of your thoughts, whatever you are focused on, is going to feel bigger and bigger. So if the majority of your thoughts are negative, that's what's going to seem really, really big to you. But if the majority of your thoughts are positive, are of appreciation, of gratitude, of that inner cheerleader saying, great job, you're wonderful, good for you, you're going to feel that much better. So the majority of those thoughts, once they can become positive, that's going to grow and grow. And what happened to me over the last 3 weeks are those negative thoughts were so strong and they just took over for 3 weeks. And I'm realizing now it's really okay. Life is such a cycle. Things go up and they go down, and they go up and they go down. And Tony Robbins says, the problem with people is that we think we're not supposed to have any problems. And this is so true, and I fall victim to this. When I'm in that place of feeling not great, or I feel like I have the problem, sometimes I want to resist it so badly. But when you can really sink into it and let it pass, you will learn your problems are your greatest teachers. And so anyway, that 3 weeks was a really great moment for me in a way, because I have perspective now that I'm feeling so much better and I got through it. But what I'm realizing looking back is that I had let my negative thoughts really take over, and I opened that door and they just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I kind of had a huge talking to myself one night, and I decided the next morning I was not going to feed those thoughts anymore. I was not going to feed them. There's a great book called Positive Dog. I really recommend reading it because it puts this in perspective. What you feed grows. So if you're feeding your positivity, that will grow. I happened to be feeding my negativity for those few weeks, and that got bigger and bigger. And once I realized that, now my dog's drinking water, sorry. But once I realized that, I was really able to turn my ship around, and within a day I felt so much better. So it's really a practice, and it takes time, but with practice it really does get so much easier. So thanks for watching part 3. I would love to hear your comments, and so comment below, write to me. I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at thehighlysensitivebadass.com, and I hope you guys have a really wonderful night. Talk to you soon. Bye.